Chapter 1. My name is Aurora, but when most people look at me, they only see Fire's daughter. All my life I've done my father's bidding, worn what I was told to wear, said what I was told to say, and certainly never left the estate unescorted. My one small act of rebellion was to slip my brother a few spare parts. Worst decision ever. Now the arcane power balance has been disrupted, and I don't know who to trust. Someone needs to stop my brother. So I joined forces with the rebels, hoping to put things right. I never planned to fall for any of them. Most definitely not all four. From the source derived. I saw those words engraved on the pediment every time I looked up from my work. I can't say if people actually spoke like that in the 19th century, back when the Great Machine was first created, or if they were just compelled to come up with something that sounded important to commemorate the technology that allowed man to control the elements. Can't say I blame the inventors for their hyperbole. It was a bigger deal than sliced bread, and maybe even the internet. The world around us, earth, water, and air, had been distilling magical essence for eons, possibly since the Big Bang. And now mere humans were able to control and replicate the process. It was an amazing time to be alive. The distiller was over 8 feet tall and twice as wide, an entire wall of conduit and a giant maze of copper tubing. The channels were wound in complex patterns, forming shapes that coaxed arcanum from its surroundings, miles of channels that resemble the intricate workings of a musical instrument, or the fittings of a great engine. It was a marvel of pipes and valves and gauges that would make any steampunk cosplayer drool. All the machine's fittings were made to order in secret locations throughout the country. Even if the Great Machine hadn't been fabricated back before things were standardized and streamlined, all the parts would still be proprietary. This wasn't a plumbing system, after all, or a home brewing kit. It was the technology that allowed us to gather arcanum even after its original source went dry. The invention that changed the world. My job, my privilege, was to help keep it running. I unwrapped the replacement copper pipe from its casing and checked the threaded fittings for irregularities or burrs under the magnification of a loupe. Clean. Double-checked that the redundant pathway was offline. Check. Then, carefully, lovingly, began to unscrew the worn channel I was scheduled to replace. The only people allowed in the distiller chamber were the technicians, and we knew better than to interrupt one another while we were working, so when one of the other techs hurried over, I knew it must be important, not only because I was working, but because they never talked to me if they could help it. "Aurora," he said breathlessly, "it's happening." Heart now pounding, I quickly retightened the old fitting back into place and hurried around the machine to the end of the line, the point at which all the conduits and valves converged, the decanter. The other techs gathered around, 6 of us in all, and together we stared at the silvery nozzle where a single drop of precious arcanum quivered. That drop had been gathering for a whopping 11 months, 2 days, and I checked the clock overhead. 5 hours. Certain natural phenomena, though spaced far apart, still happen within set parameters. While some cicadas take 17 years to emerge, they do it on a set schedule. Other phenomena don't care about man's time frames. The aurora borealis, for instance, the northern lights I'd been named after. There were certain months and certain times in which they were more likely to appear, but you can't set your watch by them. They follow their own internal rhythm, nothing so mundane as a schedule. I'd been maintaining the distiller since I was 19, and in the past 6 years, I'd grown to recognize the look of a drop that's just about ready to fall. Arcanum has a milky, silvery glow, thick with surface tension and strangely resilient. A liquid solid like mercury, twice as heavy, but with such dense internal cohesion that on a vertical surface it ran upward,